Happy Monday, early afternoon, early evening once again, guys. What's going on is WWE Raw was once again overseas tonight in London, airing at 3 p.m. here on the East Coast and 12 noon here where I live on the West Coast if you live in the United States. So another early Monday Night Raw this week before WWE wraps up their European tour this Friday on SmackDown, which will also be in London. And then finally, the whole crew heads back here to the United States to finish off the last couple of weeks of TV before we get to WrestleMania. And I got to say, I was really happy with what I saw tonight on Monday Night Raw because we've been talking about, kind of the underwhelming build so far as it relates to John Cena and Cody Rhodes. After that epic heel turn, we thought we were in, about to receive, 4, 5, 6 weeks of awesome television, awesome build leading up to WrestleMania. And so far, everything we've gotten from Cody Rhodes and John Cena has been somewhat underwhelming, and we haven't really gotten a lot of the explanations that we were hoping to get from John Cena. And we have not even, number one, seen The Rock and have not had any mention of him, which is very bizarre considering The Rock was standing right next to Cena when all this was going down. We were expecting to see this Rock-Cena alliance heading into WrestleMania, and Rock has been a complete afterthought to the point where he might not show up at all. Is he not even going to be at WrestleMania at this point? I'm starting to wonder that. Now, he was brought up, finally, in this promo. Finally, his name was mentioned, but still really no mention of The Rock or what his role in all of this is. And Cody doesn't even seem to be that pissed off about The Rock, who apparently he just became really tight with over the course of the last year, turning on him and betraying him as well. So far, there's been a lot of questions that we as fans have not had answered, and there's been a lot of, criticism and some light frustration about how this is going because we all feel like it should be going better. And tonight, I feel like they really turned up the heat. John Cena and Cody Rhodes had a tremendous in-ring back and forth promo. I enjoyed it immensely. I felt like this is the John Cena we should have been seeing all along, and this felt more like a WrestleMania-worthy segment. I am now a little bit more interested in this match than I may have been a week ago. Also, a hell of a lot more interested now in Jey Uso and Gunther as they pulled off a tremendous segment with Jimmy Uso and Gunther in their one-on-one match. A lot of people had this sniffed out. You guys had mentioned it. We had talked about it. It was all over social media. A lot of people were saying last week when this match was set up that what should happen is Gunther destroy Jimmy Uso right in front of Jey. And that's pretty much what happened after Gunther beat him and zip-tied Jey Uso to the ropes while he bloodied up and just beat the holy hell out of Jimmy, choking him out twice, and that has added now a lot of interest. I'm still not sure how this match is going to translate in the ring. It's not going to be the main event. Neither Royal Rumble winner will be main eventing either night of WrestleMania this year, which is kind of weird. Might be time to maybe rethink the Royal Rumble. But now maybe this match has a little bit of promise because up until last week, I feel like this match is going to be bad. And maybe it's not going to be so bad now because Gunther, he really did a lot to add interest and add intrigue here. So between Cody and Cena and Gunther and Jey, I really liked what I saw out of the World Championship matches. We almost had what we predicted happen in the Io Sky and Rhea Ripley match. We knew that was going to get all fucked up somehow. I was assuming that Adam Pearce would storm out to the ring furious and just yells at all three of them and books the triple threat. Sounds like we're going to take the last 2 weeks of TV for Ripley to find her way back into the match, which, based on the finish and the double DQ, Ripley is going to wind up being in this match. It's going to be a triple threat. They're just going to take the long way to get there. But overall, tonight's Raw in London I thought was pretty good. And those big segments, I think, really carried the show and helped add a lot of interest in what has been a relatively underwhelming WrestleMania. I mean, they're looking at not even a very good attendance. Just over 50,000 is probably what they're going to bring in for this Mania, which will be the lowest attended WrestleMania since 2006, nearly 20 years. And you got to remember, too, WrestleMania also falls on Easter weekend, which was a choice. I'm surprised it fell on Easter weekend. I kind of forgot that it did until I was working everything out at my job. Oh, make sure I'm off this weekend. And I'm like, oh, crap, that's Easter. So, it's like just odd why they chose that a little bit later in the month. Plus, the insanely high ticket prices and sales. I would hate to see WWE shit the bed on this WrestleMania. I really would. But it's looking like There's going to be some moments. It's going to be a great, fun show. It always is. But I feel like this could potentially be a weaker one. This could be perhaps even, perhaps weaker than WrestleMania 38. And I don't even think it was that weak of a show. But you might have to go to right back to 37 or something to find one that, might be this underwhelming. You guys let me know how you're feeling about this year's build. But one positive step I think WWE took tonight was with what we saw with John Cena and Cody Rhodes and with Jey Uso and Gunther. That was all good stuff. And, we're going to get more here on Friday night on SmackDown. We'll get a lot more in terms of the Punk and Rollins and Roman side of things. Seth Rollins is scheduled for next Monday's Raw back in the States in Minneapolis. But the SmackDown, 1 week from this Friday, will be in Chicago. So that's where we're going to get the Rey Fenix debut. And I'm sure we're going to get a very, very big CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins segment on that Chicago show, because the go-home show, that's going to be Friday night, right before night one, right before the Hall of Fame. I don't know what kind of a big over-the-top segment you could really do on that show. I think Chicago, 1 week from Friday, is going to be something pretty big with Roman and Punk and Seth Rollins. And if we are not going to get the favor revealed to us at WrestleMania, that Chicago SmackDown in a couple of weeks might be where it comes out. So I think there is potential for the last couple of weeks of TV here in the United States, plus the show in London on Friday. And hopefully they can finish strong, the final push into WrestleMania here to really get our juices flowing for this show, because right now they're only flowing a little bit. John Cena brought up mediocrity a lot in his promo, and that's what I feel like this WrestleMania is. So let me know what you guys think of the show or thought of the show tonight. If you got a chance to see it yet, I'm going to cruise over here to the chat and say hello to everybody, and then we will start running through the results of tonight's Monday Night Raw. Good to see Zane G, Jay Lambo, Melissa, Michael Cuomo, Tatanani, 7th season, Ben Espinoza, William Cullen. We've got Gilbert Arbalo in the house, Isaac, Crazy J, Stephen Harris, Rodrigo. Let me see. Mike Rouse, I think I got you. I might not have. Ajax Johnson. Mohammed is in the house as well. Good to see David Brown, El Magnifico, and the Juliet. We are Pro Wrestling in the house on a Monday. Look at you. We've got Shell Shock here as well. And Shell Shock, the system. Diet Water. Good to see you, man. Long time. Always Radio is in the house as well. Barry here. The story of the Raw women's title match has been pretty dumb. Rhea just cost herself a title win. She complains until she gets another shot. Bianca was an honest ref, and Rhea is still mad. Well, yeah, Rhea was the one that finally got mad at Bianca and struck her. I mean, Bianca counted the 3, and Io was kicking out. Rhea was getting frustrated, and then I think did she slap Bianca, or she accidentally kicked Bianca out of the ring and then had Io pinned, and then Bianca wasn't there, and then I think that's when Rhea Ripley lost her temper. So everything that they are doing right now isn't making Rhea Ripley look really good. Ripley and CM Punk even are both huge baby faces, and I was saying that, I don't know if I want them to just worm their way into a match in a cheap way, because that makes them look like an asshole. That's why I'm glad CM Punk's favor wasn't him getting the WrestleMania main event. It's going to be something else. So with Rhea Ripley basically whining and crying her way into this match, because she's going to have a lot to say based on the outcome of what happened tonight. Next week, she's going to be all butthurt about it to Adam Pearce. And she's going to have to probably spend the last 2 weeks maybe fighting her way in. I like the idea of having matches, making her work for it, rather than doing something lazy backstage where Pearce just agrees to put her in the match. The only way I think Pearce does that is if he just loses his temper. He's so sick of these women at each other's throats. He says, fuck it, you're all going to face each other. That's what I thought they were going to do tonight. But it sounds like they're going to make Rhea work for it. I just hope that once it's finally booked, whatever they do to get Rhea into this match, that it doesn't make her look too much of an asshole. You know what I mean? Because so far she kind of looks like one. Juwan Hill, Ryan Adams, good to see you guys all in here. Do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button if you don't mind. I want to thank all of you for hanging out with us last night for a very fun WrestleMania 28 watch-along, 4-hour watch-along last night. Watched the Hell in the Cell match between Taker and Triple H, the end of an era, and of course the John Cena and The Rock main event. Really fun watch-along last night. We watched the first ever show that took place when I was already doing YouTube. That's the first watch-along we've done of a show that recent from 2012. Unfortunately, as soon as that video concluded, WWE pulled it down. I knew I had my mic too loud last night. I was mentioning that. I'm like, there's way too much volume coming through here. So unfortunately, the video got blocked. Not a big deal. But if you like to go back and rewatch those for whatever reason, you won't be able to watch that one. It got blocked by WWE. No big deal. I will just remember to keep an eye on my microphone next time. Not a huge issue, but if you're wondering what happened to that video, it got taken down about 20 minutes after we finished the stream last night. But I do want to thank all of you guys for being here. It was a blast, and we will be here this coming Sunday to watch Dynasty together. And then the following Sunday will be our final WrestleMania watch-along of the season. And I'm still figuring out which one we're going to do. Probably going to put a poll up for you guys to vote on YouTube. So keep a lookout to my channel in the community tab for that. I'll probably put that poll up tonight so we can figure that out. Let me see. All right, I got the shout outs out of the way. I got my notes here. Let me make sure. Well, if you guys couldn't hear me, you'd already be saying something. All right, we're looking good. All right, well, let's get into Monday Night Raw tonight from London, the O2 Arena. There were some rumblings. I got tagged in a couple of tweets that showed some screenshots of The Rock's Instagram page where he says, I'm in London or whatever, but apparently that's months old. So Rock wasn't in London tonight. I was really hoping he would be. Even after this opening segment, which we're going to talk about here, I was kind of hoping we would see something again before the show ended. Something similar to last year when Cody got beat up in front of his bus, an attack from John Cena after the show, backstage or something like that, or The Rock showing up. I was hoping we'd get something like that. We didn't, but that's okay because John Cena and Cody Rhodes finally brought it in this promo. This was so good. I felt like John Cena was the John Cena that I know, the person that could absolutely eviscerate anybody in the company on the microphone. And I got to say, since this whole thing has started, Cody really has held his own, I think, in these promo wars because John Cena is pretty untouchable in that regard, and he's made a lot of top stars look this fucking big before. So what I loved about this, not only was it in front of a London audience, who's, of course, a lot more jacked, the back and forth, the way Cena was really, really cooking in his promo, and the fans were actually getting behind him and cheering him. And then the minute it was Cody's turn, he won them back. It's not like Cody was in danger of losing the audience or having such a poor performance that it's completely turned WrestleMania on its ear. Now Cody's going to be going in there, as this heel that the fans can't stand because he can't hold his own against John Cena. None of that is happening here. Cody was, matched, I think, Cena in everything he said. And just when Cena was about to get the audience on his side, Cody brought them right back. And that's a really interesting dynamic. And it shows you just how important and how big of a star Cody is to this era in WWE. And they both said some really interesting things in these promos, or in their promos, their back and forth. We finally got a little bit of back and forth between the two, and we got physicality, which was great. So I don't know if I have all of this in order because I was making so many notes so fast. Incidentally, today I was, Monday is my day to get my phlebotomies and everything from the doctor. So I had to be there while Raw was on. So I was in the chair, the hospital bed there, and I have my phone out and I'm watching the promo, but I'm kind of having it on low volume. And I could tell just on my little 5 inches of iPhone there with the volume very low, I'm like, this one's better. This one is better than the other ones. You could just tell. And the way John Cena talked about how he's going to bury Cody because he buries everyone. And that was the talk on the streets back in the day. John Cena buries everybody. John Cena won't put anybody over. When in reality, it was just John Cena was surrounded by mediocrity. Think of the people that he completely undressed on the promo. A whole faction full of Nexus guys that there was nothing going on there. Even Big Dog Roman Reigns got completely owned by John Cena. Hell, The Rock did back in 2012 and 2011 in their promo battles. And think about, what John Cena did to The Miz, and some of their issues. John Cena, was a pretty big fish, in an empty pond that didn't have anyone on his level. And he brought up good points there, that he was surrounded by mediocrity. The reason he was always there is because there was nobody else that could knock him off, no matter who WWE put in front of him. John Cena has never been intimidated by somebody, especially on the microphone, standing across the ring from him. And he doesn't think that Cody is really any different. Goes ahead and hits Cody with all the easy stuff, talks about his lisp, in his speech therapy classes, and talks about getting his gimmick tattooed for the world to see, and criticizes Cody's overall personality and look and how he acts and behaves, which was kind of interesting that John Cena is the one throwing these stones. And the way he was delivering it, we had that Cena fire. We had that Cena voice, that command in his voice when he was talking to Cody. And I was getting behind it too. This is when the fans started cheering, when Cena was getting right in Cody's face, and the fans were liking it. They were liking it. But the thing is, the fans, I think, were going with the flow of the promo. And when Cena's saying something great, they're loving it. When Cody's saying something great, they're loving it. They're listening, they're engaging, they're reacting, good and bad, booing things that they don't like that Cena says, cheering things that they do. Same thing with Cody. And that was, I think, really, really special, the way both of these guys, the crowd wasn't necessarily divided. I think they were enjoying the promo and appreciating it. And you could kind of tell and see shades of what this feud could be if it hits on all cylinders all the time. And I felt like if we had a little bit of this a few weeks ago, like if this would have been the first one, this would have been the first promo, then, maybe that things would have progressed a little bit better. But once it was Cody's time to talk after John Cena said his piece, Cody, I think, really held his own as well and fired right back at John Cena. And he talked about, John Cena kind of told Cody that, I don't know if he referenced him or referred to him, kind of like being the chosen one, but it was Cody that says, "You know who chose me? They chose me. The fans chose me. Can you say the same, John? Can you say the same, that the fans chose you, or was it just one guy up in an office that we don't talk about anymore?" So there's a Vince McMahon reference. And we also got not only a Vince McMahon reference, we got a Tony Khan reference. As Cena would say later, that he says, "I make empires for billionaires. All you've ever done is steal money from their kids." So we've got a Vince McMahon reference and a Tony Khan reference in this. Cena did reference Cody leaving. He said he had to leave, and, kind of alluded to that, Cody leaving, going to AEW and whatnot. And when Cody, like I said, had his time to speak back, I really, really thought that he held his own, even with the Vince reference. And he says, he told John Cena, he goes, "You're still my hero, but you're also a piece of shit." And he referenced how there's more dick in John Cena's promo that there is in his jorts. I don't know how Cody Rhodes got this information about John Cena, about his small wang, but apparently he ain't packing much in them jorts. And, Cena reiterates that no one has been worthy enough of putting him down, and said that Cody had to leave and go to AEW because on his best day, he couldn't wipe John Cena's ass. And so Cena was, I feel like, top form Cena, and Cody was top form Cody. One thing that we brought up before this started was the test that this is truly going to be for Cody. I think this is going to be his biggest test to date in terms of being the face of the company. Because when it comes to standing toe-to-toe with somebody like John Cena on the microphone, that is not easy to do. And Cody Rhodes has never been known as a bad promo guy, but he's never had the promo reputation that a John Cena has. That's been changing over the past several years since coming to the WWE and even in AEW, the way Cody's promo style and, his emotion and things like that. But, it didn't really get super over until he became the star that he is now in WWE, where now fans listen to him and hang on his words. And so even though we know that Cody can handle these spotlights, I've always thought that people like Kevin Owens, CM Punk could handle a back and forth with John Cena a little bit better. But Cody has really been impressive in that regard. And when it comes down to the pressure that there must be on him as the top guy, knowing in his head as he's standing in there in the ring, live on TV and on pay-per-view, with the voices in his head saying, "Don't fuck this up, don't fuck this up, this is your whole legacy." And if John Cena would have had some sort of a promo here Cody Rhodes would have had some sort of a promo here where John Cena completely just annihilated him or made him look this big, the way he did to Roman Reigns, the way he did to The Miz, the way he's done with some other people in the ring that just can't hang with him. And the fact that Cody was able to stand up to that and deliver it, that is real life stuff there. That's not scripted wrestling. That's Cody needing to perform in the clutch against the best in the game in that department, and he did. And that's why I have hope, even though the whole thing here feels kind of underwhelming since the heel turn. What's giving me comfort is that Cody Rhodes is showing exactly why he's in the position that he's in. And you can tell that John Cena knows it. And I really hope that this match turns out to be a memorable match, something that we remember, and something that doesn't match kind of the underwhelming build so far. So since we got this really good promo tonight that really kind of re-sparked and rejuvenated, I think, our interest in this match, you still got 2 more weeks of TV. And I think there can be potential there, even though apparently John Cena is not advertised for any more Raws between now and WrestleMania, which we'll talk about that in a minute. But before the promo was over, Cody Rhodes brought up one more thing. And he said, "No one ever said that I can't wrestle." And that seemed to be what really kind of got to John. John was absorbing everything. Cody was absorbing everything that Cena had to throw at him. And both guys were, not letting their emotions get the best of them when the other person was talking. But you could tell that bothered John Cena. And then John Cena acts like he's going to leave and pussy out again, turns around, tries to cheap shot Cody. Cody catches him, hits him with the crossroads. Cena's hat flies off, exposing his bald spot. And Cena lays right there in the ring while Cody points at the sign and leaves. And Cody got the best of Cena here. So according to WWE schedule, Cena is not advertised for any more Raws until the Raw after WrestleMania. So if this is the last in-ring interaction that we get between these two guys before WrestleMania, that is going to be disappointing. Very disappointing. I'm assuming it's Cena's movie schedule or whatever he's doing that's going to prevent him from being on, the 2 final Raws or weeks of TV leading up to WrestleMania, and you're in the main event. That is weak as fuck. Is the plan to bring The Rock back for those 2 weeks of TV? And then we get Rock and Cody as the final thing that we see before WrestleMania? Then the match should just be Rock and Cody. So if Cena is not going to be on TV next week or the week after, that's a huge disappointment. As great as this promo was, I want to see it followed up with. We still haven't had a contract signing. Not that we really need it, but they like to do contract signings. We just got one with Punk and Rollins and Roman, so I'm surprised they haven't booked the contract signing yet for this, but maybe they feel it's not necessary because you'd say the same thing in the contract signing that you'd say in this promo here tonight. But if that's going to be it for John Cena, I'm glad that we got a good one and a great promo out of these two tonight. I'm thrilled, but still, I'm not sure if that's really going to be enough, especially if the plan is for John Cena to win the championship. If John Cena is going to win, if he's advertised for the following Monday's Raw, that lends me to believe that he is going to win the championship. Because I feel like if he was going to lose, he would take that night off. And Cody would be out there by himself or something like that. I don't know. But if the main event of night 2 of WrestleMania, we're not going to have these two guys in the ring or under the same roof until WrestleMania, that's weak. That's weak. And I don't like it at all. So it's a really good thing that if that's going to be the case, it's a good thing that we got a kick-ass segment out of these two tonight because it was struggling. So at least we have this, but I still feel like something like this followed by something else is what you really need to get the fans to truly care about this main event, because right now I care way more about last year's main event with Cody and his story and all of that, where I feel like I just need a little bit more. And we need that WrestleMania segment. Where are The Rock's social media promos? Where are The Rock's 20-minute long Instagram videos where he's talking about this stuff? Where are they? Where the hell is he? He was all there front and center. Sell your soul to me. And then he got John Cena's soul and then he just leaves. So is The Rock not going to even be at WrestleMania? Like, how is that possible? I was expecting Rock and Travis Scott to be out there. Both of them getting their asses kicked. We pitched Austin stunning Rock and Bret Hart putting Travis Scott in the sharpshooter in that main event. Doesn't sound like that's much of a possibility now if we haven't even seen The Rock. So it'll be weird if he winds up coming back and interacting with Cody before you get to WrestleMania. It's going to feel like WrestleMania 27. That whole thing is like you forgot about The Miz. Every promo leading up to WrestleMania 27 was between The Rock and John Cena. It felt like that was supposed to be the match. And so if you bring The Rock back now and you do the same thing with him and Cody, it feels like John Cena is the afterthought. It's like 27 all over again. So I don't know how this is going to work or how it's going to shake out. If any of you guys have heard what's going to happen there with the schedules of these guys, and if we have anything set in stone yet for these final last couple of weeks of TV, let me know. But if this is the last we get of Cody and Cena until WrestleMania, that sucks. And that would kind of make me want Cody just to retain. I want Cena to win the title. I think it can be fun, but this feud, despite this great segment tonight, just hasn't given me what I expect out of a main event. And you got to wonder if this WrestleMania might just be the beginning of WWE's slight just tick to the downside a little bit. Things have just been so, and now it's like, okay, what are we doing here? We're finding ourselves having that conversation again. It really pains me in a Triple H era where he is the lead booker. He's got the pencil to say the sentence, this doesn't feel like WrestleMania season, because that's what we used to say all the time with Vince. How many times throughout the years we come up here after Raws during Mania season and say, this does not feel like Mania season. This feels lackluster. It's underwhelming. It's boring. Doesn't feel like what a WrestleMania should be. That used to be the norm with that disgusting pervert Vince McMahon. I don't want that to be the norm with Triple H. I think more of him. So the fact that we just haven't really gotten anything too great yet is a little bit of a bummer, but tonight was a step in the right direction, not only with John Cena and Cody, but with Gunther and Jey Uso. Let's skip ahead and talk about that situation, because last week on Raw, we had Jimmy slapping the yellow off of Gunther's teeth. My God, setting up tonight's one-on-one match, and we had a feeling going into this that it should be a situation of Gunther just destroying Jimmy Uso. And that's pretty much what happened. One-on-one, Jimmy and Jey Uso both teased the hell out of what's going to happen backstage. As Jimmy says, I want to go out there on my own. Jay's like, I'd feel more comfortable if I was out there with you. There was this really extreme close-up on the two of their faces, and it's like, okay, something's going to go down. Jimmy is going to get killed. So Gunther just... None of the lackluster build in this feud has been his fault, because he still looks like a world champ. He is a badass. He beat the ever-loving fuck out of Jimmy Uso. A couple of power bombs, choked him out for the win. Was announced as the winner, went and got his belt, put his belt on, started choking out Jimmy Uso again until Jey Uso finally comes out, runs off Gunther, and then we go to commercial. And I think when we come back, or I think it was a commercial, it's hard to tell with Netflix, we come back and Jay is helping Jimmy out of the ring to the back, and then Gunther reappears. Gunther shows up, attacks both, gets his hands on some zip ties, and ties Jey Uso's arm to the ring rope, like the middle rope, while he beats the hell out of Jimmy Uso. Jimmy gets busted open, and this was such a great visual. My God, I almost put it on the thumbnail here, but I opted to go with John Cena and Cody. But Gunther choking out Jimmy while Jay watches, and Gunther's got blood all over his own face, all over his chest. Jimmy's blood is all over Jimmy and all over Gunther, and he's choking Jimmy, just covered in blood squirting out of Jimmy's head while he's looking at Jay, and Jay can't do shit about it. And I feel like as good as this was, it was so good, but I need more out of Jay, man. Like, I wanted him screaming at Gunther, I'm gonna fucking kill you. Just seething, red eyeballs, screaming, spitting when he's screaming mad type of thing. I'm gonna fucking kill you. You know, like how Kyle Fletcher screamed at Ospreay at the end of that cage match was so great. You know, that type of thing, like more rage, more emotion, because now it's not necessarily trying to beat Gunther and overcome that monkey, because that's been the story up until now. Jay's doubting himself. I don't know if I can beat this guy. Now, that's not the motivation anymore. Jay's character shouldn't care as much about proving to himself that he can beat Gunther. He should be out for revenge, and he should use that thirst for revenge and that anger to channel that rage into putting down Gunther. Now he's very, very motivated. Gunther gave him all the motivation that Jay should need to beat him, but the whole segment was just money. I'm so glad that Jimmy was bleeding. That's why when you bust out blood every now and then in WWE, it can be really, really, really effective. And this whole thing was. So this whole entire feud has been kind of underwhelming as well because people just aren't that enamored with Jey Uso. He's tremendously over. He's a huge fan favorite. Kids love him. He's got one of the coolest entrances in the history of the business. And he is a good wrestler. He knows how to wrestle. We've seen 12 years of proof of that. But in the last year or so, it feels like Jey Uso is, I don't know, Kevin Nash said something about this on his podcast where it kind of looked like he's maybe taking on a little bit of weight, but I don't know. I don't want to body shame anybody. It's just what I've talked about with Jey Uso. It feels like he moves in slow motion. Those are very, very weak looking spears. My grandma could kick out of a Jey Uso spear and she's dead. So I need more from him. And even though I liked what we saw here tonight, I feel like Jey told so much better stories with his face and with his personality back in the Bloodline days. I used to think he was one of the best at that. And I needed more out of Jey Uso. I know everybody's praising this segment, and it was a good segment, but I even needed more. I needed more rage out of Jey. I needed to believe that he's really watching his brother get murdered before his eyes. And I didn't believe that when I saw Jey. Jey just looked like he was acting in a wrestling angle, and I need a little bit more. This is your brother. This is your flesh and blood, your twin brother that you're watching he's losing blood. He's being choked out, losing blood. Oxygen's cut off. He's literally dying in front of your eyes. Those zip ties should be ripping your flesh, as you're trying to, I feel like Jey would be strong enough just to break those things. But if not, you should at least have blood on your wrists from trying to rip yourself out of that to save your brother. I needed more rage. I needed more emotion. I needed more anger out of Jey than what we got. So even though it was a great segment, everybody's praising it. I'm praising it. Loved it. Great to see blood. Great to see some heat brought to this. But I needed it to be more. And I don't often nitpick and stuff. I'm usually trying to always glass half full, but I feel like Jey's performances have been so underwhelming that, this was, a chance for him to really remind us what he's capable of. Because back during the Bloodline stuff, during the Sami Zayn stuff, you really believed Jey and his emotions. You believed when he was mad. You believed when he was sad. You believed when he was happy. And I didn't believe anything out of him tonight. So that's why he's not in the main event, I guess. We had that weird tag. We know this is probably just going to lead to a 4-way for the title at WrestleMania, but Braun Breaker and Penta teamed up to take on Finn Balor and Dominic in a tag team match. We knew some shit was going to go down here because Penta and Braun just faced off last week for the championship. Breaker wound up accidentally spearing Pentagon, which allowed Finn Balor to hit the coup de grace for the win and pin Penta. Dominic and Finn are victorious. Penta and Braun Breaker kind of argue backstage in the backstage area. And also backstage with the Judgment Day, Balor is back there taking all the credit in the world for winning the match. So he takes credit and then says that he's going to go find Adam Pearce to, get a match or something. And he's like, whoa, yeah, Balor is back, baby. And he leaves. And Liv Morgan is pretty upset about that because she's like, Dom, did you hear that? He said he won. He said, I won the match. And it was a tag team match. He didn't even mention you. So she's a little bit irritated about Balor. So I feel like this is probably going to be a 4-way, right? That's what we're doing here. Dom and Balor and Penta and Braun all going to battle for the IC title at WrestleMania. That's what I'm assuming will happen here at the end of the day. And you know what? I wouldn't mind seeing Dom win it. I know a lot of people don't want to see Dom win a singles championship, and I understand that, but I do. So if you ever were going to give Dominic, because Dominic is super over, but he's not going to be, super credible as a one-on-one champion who could win matches against anybody all on his own. He isn't there yet. But he's still over enough. He's a great character, gets a good crowd reaction, and he is a good wrestler, and he is the son of Rey Mysterio. And if you are going to put a singles belt on him, having him steal one in a 4-way type of thing, especially when Balor is so uber focused on this, he's not even thinking about Dom. In Balor's mind, the only person that's going to walk out of this match with the title is going to be me. And so he's going to be very surprised if Dom wins that. And if he does, I think that could make for some interesting stuff in the Judgment Day backstage. And I feel like Dom should win the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. I do. And then Breakker, of course, can get pissed and immediately challenge for a rematch on Raw. But because of what happened in the four-way, Dom stealing the belt and Balor being mad about that, maybe Balor then comes out and costs Breakker the match or something against Dom, and then you set up Dom and Balor, and then Balor's finally out of the Judgment Day, and maybe this finally does end with Balor winning the Intercontinental Championship, but maybe he winds up beating Dominic for it, not Braun Breaker or Penta. So from where we sit right now, I might be one of the only people saying this, but I hope that if this four-way gets booked, that Dominic walks out of WrestleMania with the Intercontinental title. I do, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I will climb to my roof and yell it in the neighborhood. I will. Don't tempt me. After that, we had Logan Paul and AJ Styles. This was presented on WWE social media as Logan Paul calling out AJ Styles, but AJ Styles was in the ring first calling out Logan Paul, so I think they had it like backwards, but AJ came out first, then Logan Paul came out, and boy, he is not liked by the London audience. It was great to hear him booed out of the building there. He brags about his success and money, of course. And AJ says that he forgives Logan Paul for being the biggest douchebag in history, and AJ's not wrong about that. This whole thing back and forth was just mildly good. More stuff from Logan Paul, more of the same shit he always says, and a lot of typical stuff from AJ Styles too, to be honest. But in the end, Logan gets pissed, winds up going for a cheap shot on AJ. AJ blocks it, they brawl, and then Logan winds up nailing AJ when he's getting back into the ring and hits him with his pulverizer to lay out AJ Styles. And during the promo, a WrestleMania match was proposed, so they will likely make that official here probably soon if it's not made official already on social media. But after the match, or after the segment, Logan kind of pointed to the sign and the announcer said, could this be a WrestleMania match? So Logan and AJ is all but official. And I wouldn't be surprised if you went over to WWE social medias right now. It's already been announced, knowing them. But we are going to get that match for sure. And then after that, it was the main event. Io Sky defending her Women's World Championship against Rhea Ripley. Bianca Belair is the referee for this thing. She came out there strutting in an extremely sexy referee outfit. The announcers even said that she spent time on her own making her own referee gear. Just did it on her own, which is crazy. I would have had the seamstresses make me something, but I got to say, I'm sorry, HBK. Bianca is sexier in her referee ring gear. Now, don't get me wrong, HBK. You were sexy. You had a delicious little booty going on there, but you cannot compete with Bianca Belair. My God, Montez, you are a lucky man. So going into this match, we all had this pegged. We knew what was going to happen, or we had an idea what was going to happen. I was saying last week, okay, Bianca's the referee, so obviously this isn't going to work out because all three of these women are kind of at each other's throats right now. And Ripley especially is, really angry, really agitated because of her losing the title and how she perceived Bianca Belair to be at fault for that. And so she's very upset. So all of these, combustible elements, there's no way they're going to get in there and we're just going to have a regular match and Bianca's going to count the three. It's going to be a clusterfuck schmoz. Something's going to go down. These women are all going to be trying to tear each other's hair out. And then Adam Pearce is going to come out. Luckily, he, like me, doesn't have any hair to tear out. And he will make the WrestleMania match a three-way. So we got most of that here. What wound up happening is Rhea Ripley winds up getting frustrated because she cannot put Io Sky away. She's got her down a couple of times. Bianca counts 1-2. Io kicks out. Rhea's getting mad just in general, also mad at Bianca, getting frustrated, more frustrated, letting her emotions get the better of her. Not really the way a multi-time world champion should behave, by the way, Rhea Ripley. And winds up accidentally kicking Bianca Belair right out of the ring. Once she does that, she catches Io into a riptide, and she's got her pinned. And the crowd is counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's no referee. So Bianca is still on the outside of the ring selling. She finally gets in when Ripley is like, get your ass in here. She finally gets in. 1-2. Io Sky kicks out. Now Ripley is pissed. So she slaps Bianca, but she's the one that kicked Bianca out of the ring. It's not even her fault. So Rhea is looking like nothing but an asshole here. with her behavior, blaming now Bianca for this and slapping her. And then Io Sky goes to the top to deliver a missile dropkick to Rhea. She moves, and Bianca Belair gets hit with the missile dropkick, and she goes flying out of the ring again. So this finally pisses off Bianca Belair. She's fed up. She rings the bell, disqualifies both women. This is a double disqualification, which means Io Sky is still the women's champion. Rhea Ripley then immediately attacks Bianca, beats her down. Io Sky then goes after Ripley, and then Bianca goes after Ripley. They're all fighting with each other. Eventually, Rhea takes down both. Riptide to Bianca, Riptide to Io. Ripley grabs the belt, and the show closes with her standing tall with the championship over both of the bodies of Io Sky and Bianca Belair. And when she's leaving, she returns. She goes back to the ring and riptides Bianca Belair one more time from the second rope. So Rhea demolishes everybody, and we will see now how they tie into this, how they tie in Adam Pearce, because Pearce, you could also make the argument that he could punish Rhea Ripley. Why would she get rewarded for this behavior? That's why I think he's just going to have to get fed up and say, okay, fuck it, you're all wrestling against each other. So I think Rhea will probably have some sort of another chance maybe, because since it was a double DQ, Pearce will agree to give Rhea one more chance. So maybe now it's Rhea versus Bianca. They might do that. And I pitched that a week ago. I pitched the match that I pitched for tonight was actually Ripley and Bianca, with the stipulation if Ripley beats Bianca, she's added to the match. That's what I thought they were going to do tonight. So they might do that next week or the week after, or whatever the fuck we're doing here. Because nothing is advertised for these ladies yet for next week. So I think that maybe you do that, because if you just do some sort of a backstage segment where Ripley, or an in-ring segment where Ripley comes out, she says Bianca screwed her, double disqualification, I didn't get my fair shake, so I want another shot at it. Then Bianca comes out, then Io comes out, and they all start just brawling, and then Pearce just storms out, all pissed, to the stage and says, that's it, enough's enough. It's you three in a triple threat for the championship. They could just do it that way, which would be a little bit lazy. But I like the idea of just doing Rhea and Bianca one-on-one, with Rhea somehow getting the win over her and being added to the match. And I don't think Rhea, based on how all of this is going, I don't think Rhea should win the championship at WrestleMania, because of how she's been trying to push her way in, force her way in, being really whiny about everything, which isn't like her. So if she winds up, that could be the cool story to her too as well. Her fighting her way in last minute to get the match, and then winning the title after, all of that hard work to get there. But at this point, I think it would be more fun to see Rhea Ripley not walk out with the championship at WrestleMania. I kind of hope Io Sky retains and stacks them bitches, man. And I love Bianca Belair, but I also need Bianca Belair to be a heel one day. And I think if Io Sky just winds up beating them both, that would do more for her than it would do for the other women. Ripley and Bianca are made women, and so is Io Sky. But Bianca and Ripley, I think, are, in WWE's mind, are bigger stars than Io. Plus, they have both built up so much credibility that either one of those women, they can lose. They can lose at any time, at any place. It will not affect their status. They are going to be world champion contenders for as long as they choose to be in the company. So they can afford losses. Like I said, they can even afford to be stacked, where Io Sky, maybe not so much. I mean, those couple of interactions in these promos, they've been pie-facing and shoving Io Sky right down, almost making the champion feel like an afterthought. The story here that they're telling us, I feel like, is Io Sky shutting both these bitches up at WrestleMania. So I think maybe stacking might be out of the question, but that would be cool if she caught them with the over the moonsault and lands on both of them. And oh my God, it'd be so awesome if Io Sky stacked Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. Nobody's been stacked since Roman Reigns did the stacking. It's time to stack someone else. It's time for some more stacks. And a Rhea and Bianca and Io sandwich actually sounds quite delicious. So I'm rooting for Io Sky at this point, from where we sit, to retain her title. I hope she does. Now, next week on Raw, they are back here in the United States, up in Minneapolis. We're going to have Seth Rollins on the show, and he's going to be all by himself. Punk and Roman probably will not be there. Punk might, but Rollins is going to be on the show by himself, and he's going to have lots to say and lots of complaining to do. We're also going to get Lyra Valkyria against Bayley in an Intercontinental Championship match. And Lyra had a backstage interview tonight with Kathy Kelly where she talked about WrestleMania. So I feel like we are going to get a women's Intercontinental title match on one of the nights. And I think we'll probably have Chelsea defending her title as well. But if they do that, if they do book U.S. and women's IC matches at Mania, they're going to be multi-women as well. I don't know if it's just going to be one-on-one. I can't envision a one-on-one match for either of those ladies. I think it's got to be a multi-person deal, which is just going to put an assload of those type of matches on WrestleMania. We're going to be going back to feels like WWE is going back to the philosophy of trying to get a lot of people on Mania, where they weren't really worried about that before. I've said every year that I firmly believe that the Andre Battle Royal should be on WrestleMania. It's 2 nights. It's not like it's hard to fit it in. You got 2 nights. Just have it open night 1 every year. That's your first match. Every single year at WrestleMania, the Andre the Giant Battle Royal opens night 1. I think that would be so much fun if they did that. So if they're doing multi-man, multi-women matches, it's possible that we're going to have 3 multi-women matches with the ICUS and with Ripley and Io and Bianca. And we're probably going to get it two minimum out of the men, and probably 3 as well. Probably 3 women and 3 men multi-man matches is what I'm feeling like we're going to get. And some of that is going to be lazy, especially with the IC and the U.S. title. But we'll see. We still got a couple of weeks before things are official. And also, next week, El Grande Americano is going to be on the show. And I was thinking, isn't El Grande Americano just a big coffee? Isn't that all it is? So the big coffee is going to be on Raw next week. And some people are now, as it relates to Seth Rollins, a lot of people are now starting to throw out the idea of Paul Heyman joining Rollins and screwing both Punk and Roman. And that's an idea that I've been seeing tossed around a lot in the last couple of weeks. And I have my doubts. I feel like the swerve itself obviously would be pretty crazy if that happened. But what are the motivations? What would be Paul Heyman's motivation for dumping these two? His wise man, his tribal chief, who he literally cries at the feet of, his lifelong dear friend CM Punk. And he's going to dump the 2 of them for Rollins? Is Rollins the better ticket in Paul Heyman's mind? This is a guy with a bad back, who has lost to Punk, has lost to Roman. What's more attractive about Rollins than the other 2? So I feel like if something like that were to happen and we had a big swerve in the triple threat match and Paul Heyman turns on Punk and Roman and aligns with Seth Rollins, okay, but wouldn't it be like a swerve for the sake of a swerve? Now, if they would have, there may be, I don't know, because I don't pay as good attention as some of you guys do. But if they have been dropping any sort of subtle hints over the past several months about this, I would love to see them. Because this would be something that I would want to maybe slightly and subtly tease to where only the sharpest of the sharp are picking up on it. Where Heyman, even on SmackDown, during the contract signing, he's sitting next to Roman, and Roman tells Punk to acknowledge him, and Roman can't see Heyman, but you can see Heyman looking at Punk going, don't do it. So, I feel like the favor is probably going to be Heyman turning on Roman, or maybe being the corner man for CM Punk. The Heyman turning on both of them, aligning with Seth, is nice and everything, but I feel like that's just the swerve for the sake of a swerve. It's just, let's just do something crazy at WrestleMania, and I don't really like that. I don't like when wrestling companies make just a knee-jerk decision to turn somebody just to get a reaction out of the crowd. When it's over, you're like, okay, now what? It's like when Paul Heyman turned on Brock at the Survivor Series and aligned with the Big Show. I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? when you've seen the unstoppable beast that Brock Lesnar is, and you've seen the beatable man that Big Show is. Big Show is beatable. For all his size and everything, they tried to act like he's this unstoppable guy. No, Big Show had been beaten a bunch of times by then. He was sent down to developmental because he sucked. And now you're going to dump Brock Lesnar, probably one of the most physically gifted specimens that's ever walked this goddamn earth, and you're going to dump him for Big Show? And what happened? As soon as it was over, it was like, well, that was dumb. Where do you go from there? Paul Heyman is now with the Big Show? That's stupid. What do you do? Hold the belt for a month? It was ridiculous. Like, all that just for him to hold the belt for a month and then be done. I don't even remember how long Heyman and Big Show stayed together. What, a few weeks? So if Heyman aligns with Seth, okay, but so now Seth is going to have Heyman in his corner. They could make a good team, I suppose. But I don't know, man. I feel like that would just be doing something to do it. And I don't know if I would like to see that. I feel like there's going to be enough meat on the Paul Heyman bone with Punk and Roman alone, especially if after WrestleMania that leads to a match between them, and then maybe that's when Paul Heyman shows his alliances and maybe turns on Roman. So maybe it's that, Punk's favor. I think we might get announced to us at SmackDown in Chicago in a couple weeks. We might get the favor right there, or we could have the favor announced at WrestleMania. I don't think I'm in favor of this idea of if Punk wins the triple threat on night one, he's added to the match. Now you got 2 triple threat main events on both nights, plus the women's triple threat, plus the 4-way for the IC women's and men's, 4-way for the IC, or 4-way for the US women's and men's. Too much. So maybe Seth Rollins, and I feel like Seth Rollins should win. I'm rooting for Seth Rollins to win this match. I feel like he should. He should win the night one main event. I feel like he's put his time in. This is owed to him. This is something that he's absolutely earned. And plus with Rollins, or with Roman and Punk, like I said, with Heyman kind of being caught in the middle, that's a match you could do for Backlash. After WrestleMania, Roman and Punk could maybe blame each other for Seth getting the win. They face each other one-on-one. And I was going to say, the winner gets a title shot at Money in the Bank, but, you got to feel like Rollins needs a title shot. So maybe Rollins gets the title shot against John Cena at Backlash. I feel like Randy Orton would be better for that. But maybe Rollins gets the title shot against Gunther. Maybe it's Rollins after he beats, Punk and Roman at WrestleMania, and Gunther maybe retains. It's Rollins and Gunther at Backlash. And then if Cena wins the title, it's Cena and Orton at Backlash. Punk and Roman can wrestle at Backlash with the stipulation the winner gets the title shot at Money in the Bank. CM Punk cashes in his favor. Paul Heyman turns on Roman, helps CM Punk beat Roman. Now it's Punk and Cena at Money in the Bank for the championship. How's that sound? I think it sounds pretty damn fly, if you ask me. They should hire me as the booker. Oh, yes, right. I'm sorry. I got that wrong. I'm sorry. Thank you for that. I'm an idiot. SmackDown was in London on Friday. This Friday's SmackDown is Chicago. Right? Right. Yeah. So it's this Friday. I'm sorry. My weeks are all goofed up. WWE's overseas. Yeah, it's this Friday, not 2 weeks from now. I'm sorry. I got that all goofed up. I'm a mess. So that means there will be 3 United States SmackDowns before WrestleMania. Let's look at this here calendar. I believe that's right. Yeah, so this Friday will be, what the fuck month is it? This Friday's the 4th. No, and then the 11th. And then the 18th. Yeah, so including the go home, that's going to be 3 more SmackDowns, all 3 of which will be here in the States, and 2 more Raws will be here in the States on the 7th next week and the 14th. Yeah, okay. Thanks for clarification. Sorry about that. DJG, you think Rollins is taking the pin from Punk? I don't. Why do you think that's a definite? Why would that be a definite? There's no definite. I don't even think WWE knows for sure yet. But, if they want to plan out, what their matches are going to be, I feel like for everything that Rollins has done, all the jobs that he's done, he's owed this victory. And I'm rooting for Rollins. The cool thing is like Ryan Adams, he's got Roman winning. You can make a case for all of them. Punk winning, WrestleMania main event would be great for Punk, especially if it means he gets a title shot. But I still think that the scenario I just laid out with Rollins getting the win and then maybe challenging Gunther at Backlash, and then Roman and Punk can face one-on-one at Backlash. That's where Punk cashes in his favor. Heyman turns. Punk beats Roman, earns himself a title shot as well against John Cena. You book that match for Money in the Bank, and that is just a beautiful... I fucking handed it to you on a platter, man. Doesn't that sound better? Now, Always Radio, they are wasting AJ. Surely last WrestleMania with that Punk. I think it's amazing that AJ Styles is entering his 9th WrestleMania. Can you believe that? 9 WrestleManias for AJ Styles. That's a wild sentence to say. That's a wild sentence. I can't believe it's been that long. But I don't feel like he's wasted, because without the Logan Paul match gives AJ something meaningful to do at WrestleMania. Without the Logan Paul match, what would he do? Just be stuck in one of them multi-man deals for the US or something? No, this is actually better. He's in the ring. I can't stand Logan Paul. I think he's a piece of shit, but he is a worldwide known celebrity. And he has pretty high-level matches every year at WrestleMania. And AJ Styles, he's worked with Shane McMahon. He's worked with The Undertaker. AJ kind of works with these type of guys. And because he's a good enough talent that you want to showcase at WrestleMania. And I'm fine with AJ because there's no room for AJ in the world title scene. Those scenes are booked. It's Jay and Gunther. It's Cody and Cena. No room for him there. Rollins and Roman and Punk are doing their thing. Do you really need AJ in the IC or the US match if he's not going to win them? So this is a great thing for him to do. This isn't a waste. What would be a waste is him being in the IC match. At least this gives him a one-on-one match, his own stage, set apart from everybody else. And he's working with, an attraction, a part-time attraction that comes in, and works money matches. That is not a waste. I'm no Logan Paul fan any more than anybody else is, but that doesn't mean that this match is a waste. I'm happy that they got AJ on the card and they didn't leave him off this WrestleMania, considering that he hasn't been on TV very much over the last year. So you could make a case for him to be left off the card, and WWE feels enough likes him enough and sees enough in him and appreciates him that they want to give him something to do at WrestleMania and a very, very, very handsome WrestleMania paycheck. Absolutely not a waste for CM Punk. Yeah, Mike, I still have to go up and get the super chats. I'm getting to them. I'm still reading down here, though. I think I got a few. Oh, Sean said that he hinted that AJ may have re-signed with WWE. Yeah, I mean, AJ, either way, he doesn't have a ton of years left. I don't know if he really has a run at the top left, but I want AJ to stick around kind of long enough to maybe work with Cena this year. Like if Cena wins the title, he works Orton at Backlash or something, and then he works Punk at Money in the Bank. He could work AJ somewhere in there. Would be fun just for old time's sake, and we could beat up John Cena again, like olden times, like the olden timey days. That would be nice, right? All right, let's cruise up here and get some super chats out of the way. I think my boy Chris was the first one I saw. Thanks, Chris. Good to see you, man. Appreciate the $5. I rewatched some Rock Cena segments, and you and Solomonster were right. Cena consistently got the better of their battles, but he did bury Nexus. Yeah, who cares? Nexus sucked. I know a lot of people liked it. It was not good. It was probably, it had a spark of interest. It was a little bit good, but things were so shitty in 2010. I think it looked good when it really wasn't. I don't care that John Cena buried the Nexus. They sucked. Wade Barrett should have become a star there. Maybe some of John Cena's booking adversely affected him in a way, but I think if Barrett was really that good, none of that shit would have mattered anyway. So, he could have been buried there and easily still became a star and whatnot. So I didn't mind John Cena burying the Nexus because I thought the Nexus was terrible. People look back at that faction fondly. I do not. I never thought it was good. I mean, the night that they all went nuts and beat up everybody and Daniel Bryan choked out Justin Roberts, like that was cool and everything. But by that point, we had seen everything. It wasn't, that's such a WWE shine on it, that when they beat up everybody and then Daniel Bryan got fired for choking, Justin Roberts because you're not allowed to choke. I'm like, it's a free for all out there. These guys are invading, beating everybody up. Now all of a sudden there's rules. So the whole thing was just dumb. I didn't like the Nexus angle. I didn't care that John Cena buried them. And I'm glad it never reached any heights. The Nexus was dumb. I'm probably not one of the only, or I'm probably one of the only people that says that, but I just remember at the time in 2010, after everything I'd already seen as a wrestling fan and how bad the business had gotten and how the glory days and the good old days of really intriguing angles and stuff that really gets you interested are so far long gone in my life. By the time that stupid shit came around, I didn't care less. So if John Cena buried the Nexus, good. They deserve to be buried. Not a fan. Not a fan of the Nexus. Mike Witt, there's that 10 from you that you mentioned earlier. Thanks for that, my friend. What's up, Greg in chat? Sorry, had to work last night, so I missed the watch along. That's right. I did answer your super chat, though, last night. I think I saw it after you were probably out of the chat, but I did answer it. But now you can't even go back and hear it because WWE blocked the damn video. I want Breaker to lose the IC because I want babyface Breaker versus Gunther at next year's Mania for the world title. That definitely could be a match, and I would probably pull the IC off of Breaker at this point, too. I'm hoping that Dominic wins it at WrestleMania, somehow picks up a cheap win, and then maybe Balor beats Dominic for the title and officially splits from the Judgment Day. That's kind of what I'm hoping happens. 5 from Ryan Adams. Cena saying the line, I don't bury talent, I bury mediocrity with Barrett on commentary. Must have been a rib on Barrett. I forgot about that. Yeah, Barrett right there listening to all this. Barrett was the one that was affected the most because he was the leader of that Nexus. And to me, he was the only one worth a shit in that whole group anyway. So Barrett I legitimately liked, but I didn't care about Otunga and Slater and fuck all them. I don't care. So Barrett, obviously, but I still think that one stupid angle like that in one of WWE's worst years shouldn't be enough to completely do in a talent to where they now have no chance to succeed. There's no way I'm going to blame Barrett's lack of success on Cena that much. Maybe Barrett should have won that match or whatever it was when Cena beat him. Sure, I'll agree with that. Barrett should have beat Cena. Yeah, sure, but he didn't. He didn't beat Cena, and it should not ruin his career just for losing that night. Not a big deal. Just started. WWE could have easily fixed that. They chose not to. So it's WWE, it's not Cena. And like I said, I'm glad he buried the Nexus because I hated the Nexus. Always right. Is EO actually Japanese? What the fuck does that even mean? Yeah, Barry. I mean, Seth's been feeling like the third wheel in that whole situation. That's why I feel like he's got to win. I feel like he's just going to, he's always the punching bag. Cody signed with the company. Yeah, Rollins, we're going to have you put over Cody at 3 straight pay-per-views if you don't mind. And then when Cody got on top, got injured, comes back, starts, his path to finishing his story, Rollins is right there, sacrificing everything for him. And it feels like Rollins is owed wins over all these guys. CM Punk beat him in their first encounter. Roman Reigns, well, I guess Rollins does owe a DQ victory over Roman, right, at the Rumble. But you felt like even then, Rollins had him, And at some point when that match happens again, Rollins needs to get the win. So I've always said that when the next time Rollins gets in the ring with next time Rollins gets in the ring with Cody, Roman, or Punk, he needs to win. And so he can kill 2 birds with 1 stone here if he wins in the triple threat. And I'm definitely rooting at this point for Seth, only because I feel like that's the best way to do it. Otherwise it's just going to make him look like a chump again if he comes out of this with nothing. So, yeah, I'm rooting for Rollins, but we got a couple weeks before we get there, and I still got to do my predictions. So I might change. I reserve the right to change. The new one, appreciate the 5, man. What's up, Greg? So are we getting The Rock next week? We might. I feel like we have to because Cena apparently is not going to be there, and Cody might not be there either. Roman is not going to be there. Punk might be there. The only one there for sure is Seth Rollins. So they're going to have to add something to that Raw because there's only 2 Raws left before WrestleMania. So you want to make those good, and you sure as shit don't want to phone them in. Have Rollins and Cena have had any pay-per-view matches at all? Yes, they have. Just ask Jon Stewart. Yeah, Riley, I'm not convinced that Jacob and Solo are going one-on-one. I think Solo has lost so much interest and momentum that they don't even want him in a match at WrestleMania. I think, if anything, they'll both be in that US. I'm not sure if they're facing one-on-one. I wouldn't be surprised if we get Jacob and Solo at like Backlash and they stick them both in that US title match. Maybe it's Knight, Strowman, Fatu, and Solo or something like that. Is that what they're doing? I feel like something like that right now is more likely than Jacob and Solo one-on-one. I do. I'm doubting whether or not that match happens. I kind of hope that it does because I would love to see Jacob, get that big win on the WrestleMania stage. But I'm starting to think that might be a Backlash match. Just a thought. I could be wrong. Kind of hope I am. Yeah, Ryback was in the Nexus. Skip Sheffield. Get the fuck out of here. Can't believe there's Nexus fans out there. I swear, if y'all were born when I was born, you wouldn't have liked the Nexus either. But I guess if you were born in 2002, maybe Nexus looked pretty good. Not to me. Ryan, you got Roman pinning Seth. All right. I mean, Roman, is he going to lose 2 WrestleMania main events, in a row? So you can make a case for all 3 guys. You can definitely make a case for all 3 guys. Yeah, the new one. I think it was you. Was it you that texted me the screenshot today of The Rock? And then I wasn't believing it. I was like, that's just a screenshot. Let me check. And then sure enough, I saw that it was. I immediately saw that was a post from like 4 months ago. I'm like, okay, I knew I didn't trust that. And then I saw another tweet from somebody showing who was at the show before it went live, showing that there was like a podium with belts on it, like covered, and it looked like they were gonna like unveil a new belt. We didn't see any of that, so I don't know what that was all about. I was busy in the car and stuff today, and at the doctor and whatnot, so I was only kind of seeing what I could see from my phone. But it did look like maybe The Rock was going to be there. Maybe there's a new championship belt, and none of that happened. But that's fine because, like I said, Cody and Cena was a terrific segment, and so was Jey Uso and Gunther and Jimmy Uso. That was all real good stuff. So. Right on. It feels very weird to finish a Raw review when it's still light outside and it's only 5 o'clock in the afternoon, but we have concluded the review for this evening. Keep a lookout on the channel this week for more shorts, and I will be posting podcast links and Dynasty links in the next couple of days. We'll be here this coming Sunday to watch Dynasty, and you are going to see me once or twice this week before we get to Saturday for the podcast. So I want to wish you guys a great rest of your evening. Thank you so much for being here. Incidentally, the month of March here was one of our best months ever on the channel. So thank you to everybody for the views and the engagement and the super chats and all of that stuff. One of our better months of all time here this March. So WrestleMania season is definitely here. I want to thank you guys again for hanging out. Enjoy your Monday night, and I will be catching you real soon this week for more fun. Y'all take care. Peace.